Hey, what's up team? I'm Coach Tickety. Please ignore the cardboard boxes in the background, but today we're taking a look at a Moira player on New Queen Street who maybe leaned a little bit too heavily into that DPS Moira play style. Today we talk about a lot of stuff, including when to time your engages, how to get the most value out of all the damage you're doing, and all that kind of good stuff, but you'll see all that in the VOD. If you guys like this type of stuff, don't forget to like the video, sub to my channel, and if you want to get your own gameplay reviewed live on my stream, check out the link to my Twitch channel down below where I'm giving away free replay reviews just like this one to all my Twitch viewers. Anyway, enjoy the VOD. We are here on New Queen Street with Stylish Monkey, playing support in Platinum 3 on PC, who says this game felt so weird. That's just Overwatch, isn't it? I feel like it was completely winnable, but then my team did the old run-in one by one until it was too late strat. I feel like my Moira was decent this game, but the enemy Ana kept countering my plays, trying to get better at decision making, but when to go aggressive as well as positioning. So, let's take a look. I'm sure we're going to have some DPS Moira plays based on your description here. Let's take a look and see what we've got. As a general rule, the term for when to go aggressive for any hero for any reason is when you have a clear advantage over your target. So if you found someone who's low HP, out of position, out of cooldowns, that's your go button. Oh, why are we charging the Doom Punch, sir? I mean, I guess the Sombra was doing it anyway, but don't contribute to the problem. So this is what I mean by needing an advantage. So I don't see any reason that's telling us to go aggressive there other than bloodlust, right? So we see the opportunity to go aggressive, not an advantage or a reason to go aggressive, and that forces us out of the fight, forces our cooldowns, forces us to lose out on healing on some of our members in the front line there who unfortunately end up perishing to the underworld. Soldier going aggressive. This is someone we can aggress a little bit on. I like the damage orb. Ooh, this is a bit much. Yeah, we're not living this, are we? Surely not. Surely we're not living this. Surely we're not living if we go in again. This is... This is incredible. Okay. Okay, we are all gas, no brakes. So what's happening here, speaking of bloodlust, oh my goodness, what's happening here is we're seeing a lot of excuses to go aggressive, but not a lot of reasons to go aggressive. So again, the number one things we're looking for are vulnerable targets. Vulnerable targets are those who are out of position, out of resources, or are too busy focusing on something else. If we can isolate those kinds of targets, we'll be able to go that aggressive, and we won't take nearly as much threat ourselves because they'll be either too busy or too incapable of focusing us. So technically what you did was extremely valuable up until the point you died, because you were doing a ton of damage, forcing a ton of cooldowns, but you also completely desynchronized yourself from the rest of your team because they were not even on our mental radar where our team was, not even a little bit. We had no idea where they were. We knew where our targets were, that's about it. But also, because we were constantly in, by the time they were able to push back on us, by the time they were finally in a safe position, we still didn't change our mindset at all. We were still just go, 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 go. And that left us with no other option to either just do or die. And especially with our ultimate there, especially with the new buff that came in a few patches ago, we don't need to be fading in to these targets when we can just beam them from a much safer distance. But okay, we're starting to get some payload progress here. We're fading away from a high noon. We're out of juice. I like the reliance on damage orbs over healing orbs. You don't want to heal orb unless you absolutely need to, just because damage means more ult charge, means more pressure. Positioning here, we don't do anything from this range. We're also wasting a lot of juice. If we're healing back just like poke damage and stuff like that, we should be tapping our juice so that we get the lingering heal over time effects and we save some of our resource. Again, all this unnecessary out of range in that case for the diva as well. So ironically, we need to work on our mechanics a little bit for our healing. Oh my god! Oh god, I'm gonna have a heart attack, dude. We are all in all the time. And again, the trigger there was a little bit better, to be honest. We noticed that Ana was slightly separated from her team. but it's still not enough because she obviously still has sleep dart. Our team was not ready to go in with us. We had lost someone before that engagement, I think. And the Cassidy was still right in front of us, easily within range to hit us with any of his damage. So very aggressive. Very, very aggressive. We're hunting for it. As a support, looking for damage opportunities, it's not that there aren't a lot of reasons to go aggressive. It's that your reasons for going aggressive aren't as explosive as the DPS or a tank's reasons for going aggressive. You don't have as much damage as the other members on your team. So what that usually means is you don't want to default into an aggressive mindset. You want to take an aggressive position and make aggressive plays when it makes sense to be that additional threat that the enemy, that overwhelms the enemy. But you don't want to be the primary threat. Because if you become a primary threat against enemies who are going to out-trade you, who can do more damage than you, who have more cooldowns than you and stuff like that, you're just going to lose that trade. But also, if you become the primary threat before any of your teammates become the primary threat, you become the main point of focus. And since you're becoming the primary threat while also expending all of your resources in terms of your cooldowns and your position and stuff like that, you've got no way of outplaying the enemies in your position. All right, we trade blow for blow with the enemy Moira. It's kind of whatever, but again, it doesn't really find that much value other than a little bit of ult charge. All right, this is a decent time to go aggressive because our team is stabilizing. We just got a pick and we're hitting the back line, so we're manipulating focus as well. This is a much better time finding a little bit more success. I think we didn't need to be this aggressive with it. I think we could have stayed in gym before doubling down to go in the Ana until we noticed that as a specific target. And again, doubling down post-fade, post-orb, when Soldier just does more damage than us, it's banking on the fact that you think Soldier's not good enough to hit you, which is never something we want to rely on when we're trying to improve at the game. If you're happy with where you're at, if you never want to improve, if you're happy just playing these games and just having fun, you can go do whatever you want. But if you want to be a better player, you need to act as if the enemy team is going to outplay you if it's reasonably possible for them to do so. If they have cooldowns available, if they have a better weapon than you, and stuff like that. We need to expect the best of our opponents. If we underestimate them at every turn, we'll beat the players that we're better than. We'll beat the players that are clueless, but we won't be able to go toe-to-toe against players who are at least somewhat decent. I blame awkward, he says. And again, the idea that you should still always be going for damage. It's about how you're finding damage that's the problem here. It's that you're going hunting for kills rather than looking to do constant damage. Because if you were looking to do constant damage, you would realize that staying alive is the best way to do damage. Oh, not quite safe enough after the fade there. We did have our orb at the very last second. Maybe we stabilized with that. I don't know. It's rough.
Bothersome.
Fading past the Doom here. We do have Pole, which would not be a bad time to use it right now, considering the map's about to end. Nope, we can only use it in melee range. It's the only way. I'm a simple man. I see Ana, hit every button. And that looks like it's gonna be the map. Is there any touch? It doesn't look like it. Oh, Sombra's on. Anything happening? Doesn't look like it. I mean, pretty good stall, but it's not really gonna mean anything, is it? We're back. All right, here we go. Here's our play of the game time. We're a little flustered, I think. Must kill Diana. Must rain my juice down from above over the enemies. I guess we're surviving this fight because our spawn is so close. We're staggering out one by one. Manages to turn it ever so slightly. But yeah, I'm not sure we're gonna be able to get much done if we're continuing to take fights this way. Again, if the enemy is just clueless or misplays, this play style will beat them. But if we don't have a reason for why we're going aggressive and we're just, again, all gas, no brakes, 24/7, then we're going to be stuck in situations we have no control over. And most of those situations are going to be situations the enemy is ready for, since we're not manipulating things like cooldown advantage, positional advantage, and stuff like that. In this case, what was the advantage, right? He was isolated, he was focused on something else, and he was purple, making him a much more vulnerable target since he can't heal back your damage. And we still trade it out. Even with that advantage, we still trade it out. So again, like, unless we are guaranteeing consistent value every time we go for these aggressive plays, maybe not every time, but at least the majority of the time. Right now, it's barely 50-50 if that. Then we should be less committal with our aggression. Less committal meaning less aggressive with our positioning, using less cooldowns to find damage, and staying ready to act defensively if needed. Here's a great example. Just from the initial flank we took, we had no reason to think that flank was going to work other than the reason that we wanted it to work. And because of that, we were forced out of position by using cooldowns, forced into a vulnerable position, had no chance of surviving all these ultimates because we weren't ready for them. Okay. So let's go back to this very first engagement. You know what? There was a better engagement. Let's go back and relive this glorious moment of unfiltered aggression. So let me walk you through what's going through like my brain and what I would be thinking in these situations to hopefully overwrite some of the brick on the gas pedal in your mental vehicle right now. So right now, we're not through. Our team is dead. Our team, if they're not dead, they're in the spawn room, right? So what that tells me is that we are not prepared for a team fight, which tells me that I can do a couple things. I can poke. I can commit even cooldowns because it's going to be about 10 seconds-ish before the next fight starts. So I can throw some damage orbs. I can go look for some damage, but it means that if I'm forced to fade, I should fade defensively so that I can faster regroup with my team. And then the next time I find aggression with my next set of cooldowns, it will be more valuable because I'll be in sync with my teammates. What we do instead is we see our Sombra in front of us, we see a soldier, poking out the soldier, this is fine. Using orbs, this is fine. Using fade even is fine. Using fade aggressively to go into 1, 2, 3, 4, almost 4.5 people, not so fine. And it's not that we're choosing to go aggressive into all these people, it's that we're chasing soldier aggressively with no mental barrier stopping us from following the inner demons that are whispering in our ear that said, kill the soldier, he's out of position, we got him. But it's not the case, right? It's just not true because we don't have this information yet. So we commit everything, we go in, we dive bomb the Ana, we end up switching targets twice between the soldier to the Ana to the Cassidy here. Now we realize, oh shit, we're kind of surrounded at this point. So now we find the smallest bit of natural cover. I can feel you physically recoiling in your chair. You're cowering in fear of all this damage physically right now in game. But because of the nade and because of the Suzu that comes in as well to save us, again, this is not something we can plan for, the support of our teammates. It just happens to come in at the perfect moment to cleanse. We end up winning out this trade. But then we do it again! 1, we didn't need to fade here. 2, we didn't even have a target that we knew we were going to fade into. 3, we don't have our orb. And 4, we still don't know where our team is. We didn't take the time to see our team's position, and they're still behind us. And the faster we go, the harder it is for our team to either even catch up with us or be able to do anything themselves. Because what they're doing right now is they're seeing you in the front line as the primary threat to the enemy team, and they're saying, oh shit, we gotta go save our Moira again. So we almost get this kill on the soldier. But we fail to. We see them use a cooldown. We see them group up with their team. We still have no idea where our team is. This is, in my opinion, a win. This is a huge win that we didn't die, and we forced Ana to use her nade. That tells me that in the future, we can get more, maybe within the next 5 to 7 seconds, we can get aggressive on this Ana and not have to worry about her nading herself. But we still need a more aggressive reason to go in the Ana because we can't just go in the Ana 1v4. We can't just go in the Ana because we like the idea of going the Ana. Maybe if this Moira wasn't here, maybe if Ana was over here, right? Maybe now we can go on the Ana. That's a viable target because she's got no nade, she's out of position, and the rest of her team's on the payload. Sure. But instead, we just double, triple, quadruple down now with our next set of cooldowns. And again, you see how your team is chasing after you? You are choosing where the fight happens by leading the charge. And because you're choosing where and when the fight's happening without creating an advantage for yourself, again, you're a support and you're Moira. You are the slowest source of damage in the entire game. If you were creating these situations with like a cast grenade and a headshot and finding a kill, or D.Va absorbing every single one of their cooldowns, boosting in as a tank, or Sombra finding a hack and then we burst down that target, these are much more explosive values. But because you're leading the charge as Moira with damage orb and tickling them with your little beam, we're chasing after you, and we're not able to turn anything into like an actual team fight with explosive value. We're delaying our engage because we're forcing defensive reactions based around non-existent offensive advantages. But we're doing it again. We find another target to go in again. Even just this frame right here, imagine if D.Va just decides to flick off her matrix, because like D.Va's like, oh, I'm not in danger, and there's probably no one that's crazy enough to contest this angle with me, and then she just flicks off her matrix for literally half a second. There's 4 people staring at you. There's a sleep dart, a nade coming your way, like a cast nade, not on a nade. We know that one's gone at least. But like, it's just so much more damage coming your way than you're able to put out. Even if D.Va was with you here doing damage, it's just not a winning trade, right? It's just not enough potential value unless you find an instant kill, and you just, as Moira, you don't find instant kills. You need time to ramp up your damage, and you need to slowly burn them out of resources. If you were Kiriko here, I would understand it a little bit more, because you can 2-tap someone and then you can TP away. But as Moira here, like, you're literally tickling them to death. And you're doubling death. Now there's 5 people. We brought another one to the party. And it's crazy to me that they're even committing this much against like literally nothing when they could be killing your Cassidy or I guess no one else. I guess the Kiriko just TP'd in, so this is a better reason to commit over here. But like, it's not doing anything. It's not stopping the payload. It's not finding advantages. It's only adding to your damage stat and your ult charge. And then what do we do with our ult charge? What do we do, chat? So, all this boils down to needing a reason to get aggressive. So, we're going to talk about trading real quick. The idea of trading is that doing damage... Oh my god, let me write a little bit cleaner than that. Doing damage will force enemies to use potential defensive cooldowns. You can imagine like that Ana nade we talked about. That's a potential advantage. That's good, and that will force the Ana to play more defensively, or be unable to play more defensively since she doesn't have that cooldown. Now, if Ana plays out of position, you can kill her. And then that will lead to eliminations, kills. But if you try to just say, hey, I'm gonna shoot them, and I'm gonna find kills, then you better be playing a hero like Widowmaker or Hanzo or Sojourn, these characters with hugely explosive damage. Otherwise, you need to work through this middle barrier here. You need to trade out your damage for their cooldowns first. Once you're able to do that, then it becomes possible to find these kills. Not guaranteed. Again, we got that Ana nade out. That's still not a guaranteed kill unless we see her in a vulnerable state beyond that point as well. This is contributing to her vulnerable state, but it's not the only thing. But then the reason we find a kill is down the road, and another completely different concept. We need to read someone who's unable to commit to killing us. So we're going to read commitments. Before we commit to a kill, we need to make sure that the enemy can't commit to killing us. And there's 3 areas we're going to look at. First area is going to be positioning. So like I said, if you see that Ana completely out of position, that's a much better target. But you need to see that first. You need to go scouting for that. You can't just shift in and hope someone's out of position, someone's isolated. Second thing, we've already talked about this, cooldowns. And like I said, you can force them to use cooldowns. You can force them to commit cooldowns defensively by trading with safe amounts of damage. And again, obviously, I don't think I need to explain that an Ana without nade is a much more vulnerable target than an Ana with nade. And then the third thing, this is the thing I want you focused on the most. Ironically, I use the word focus there because it's going to be focus itself. And we managed to do this very effectively towards the end of the map, but unfortunately there weren't enough fights where this mattered. So, in a nutshell, what this means is, if you go aggressive on this target, are they busy? Are they doing anything else? And if the answer is no, then they're going to be able to focus on you. And if they're a target that does more damage than you, which most targets will, let's be honest, then you're going to lose that trade and you're going to be eliminated before they are. So to understand the concept of focus, try to imagine like you want to go aggressive on an enemy Widowmaker. Let's say because she's Widowmaker, she's positioned away from her team, and for the hell of it, let's say she's already used her grapple. We've already ticked off 2 boxes. To manipulate her focus, we're obviously not going to want to run at her in a straight line when she's hard scoping on us. But maybe if we see her shooting at another target, we hear her shots go off and it's somewhere completely unrelated to our position, then yeah, she's focused on something else. And then the moment we start dealing damage to her, she's gonna have to 180 whip her mouse around or unscope and try to figure out where this new threat is coming from. And that takes time, and it's much more difficult to do that in the moment than it is to like sort of pre-fight plan those type of commitments there. So if you can read their focus on top of these other more obvious things, this is how we're going to stay alive for longer throughout a fight. We're going to be able to outlast cooldowns, be able to change positions as we're fighting if we can manipulate their focus. So this is the big one for choosing when to go aggressive. And I think in a nutshell for you as a Moira player, it just means don't go first. Let someone else go first. Let your diva fly in, let them get distracted by the diva, and then we call them from another angle. And then they have to deal with 2 threats at the same time. Let your Sombra go in an EMP before you try and isolate a target with all your damage, you know? I struggle with trusting my teammates to make plays. They're gonna make plays. They might be bad plays, but they're going to do something that takes the enemy team's attention. Whether or not it's good doesn't matter, because it still takes time and attention for them to kill your teammates. That's what you can use to your advantage. As long as they're actually playing the game to the somewhat best of their ability, they're going to be doing something that takes the enemy's attention. And that's what we can manipulate when we don't have the most explosive resources, because that's what's going to buy us time in the fight to do whatever we want. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. But yeah, this VOD was a hell of a ride. There was so much aggression in so little time. It was honestly impressive how you just have no fear and just go in 24/7. But I promise you're going to find so much more success if we just temper our aggression, even just a little bit. Just look for one of those 3 reasons to say that someone can't commit fully to the duel against you. And then you have a slight advantage. I hope that helps. God, this was a fun one. Thank you so much for this VOD. You'll get there. Thanks again for the VOD, and best of luck in your future games.